Now, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest with you, I made this deck as more of a joke, as I was waiting for some people to get into my 5-stack when Wukong first came out. The more I think of it, the more I played him, the more viable this actually became. Now, whether it's happenstance that I actually didn't end up winning any of my matches with this deck, I think that was more just the strategy in general pick of Wukong in some of these matches. In this hero decking guide, we're taking a look at a very interesting deck I've made for him. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a hero decking guide. I am Sylphin. So, of course, this is my deck, Split Push Monkey for Wukong, completely, entirely focused around Split Push. A crap ton of power and attack speed, no crit. So this, you're probably wondering, this is very different, Sylphin. It's because the core.gg contacted me. As you might be aware, they also contacted RGS Ace, who's been with them for a long time, and kind of was like, hey, our site here offers a fantastic layout to do guides and provides much more information and helpful for you. I did it. I agree. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this fantastic setup here, where it shows everything just fantastic. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. So this is my version 40.3 off meta. I do think that crit is the better option for him to keep him relevant in team fights when you do go there, and everything else. So this is my off meta deck for him, called Split Push Monkey. Of course, the Warlord, that attack speed simply increases the DPS the most when you get it. That's why we got it. In the early game, healer, health potion, and healer token. I'm thinking of doing a starting phase here, so it'll say starting items, but we'll see. Let me know down in the comments. Health potion, healer token into your Sage's Ward, of course. And then you go maybe into a healer token that you probably get maybe before the ward, to be honest with you, just to keep that sustained. Into 2 Windcarver Blades. Get this Windcarver Blade with the 2 minor kinetics first, as that's really what you're going to need after a whole bunch of power on the Sage's Ward. That is the early game. Pretty simple. Into the mid lane, into the mid game, there is a transition point that occurs. You get this Windcarver Blade first, and you get this, just more power, more kinetic, but then at some point, when you have enough CP, transition into a Thundercleaver, Stab Link, and Assassin's Ward. This, you only get this 2-point drain. For some reason, I can't make it so that just the drain appears here on the website. Maybe that is something that can be fixed here. So leave out this Major Pierce and this Strike. Just get the drain, this Assassin's Ward, the Stab Link, and the Thundercleaver, and you've transitioned into your mid-game split pushing monstrosity. Why the Thundercleaver? Just so you can just completely annihilate. Why not? It's a bit of a joke, but it really works. So you can split push like a beast, stabbling forward into some drain, so you're full life all the time anyways. Just ridiculous. Into the late game, you simply just get rid of your Thundercleaver that was here once you get a couple of these 12-point Whirling Wands online. That gives you enough damage to compensate for the fact that you've missed out on 50% cleave. You finish off the Assassin's Ward. That's pretty much it. Really, that is all it. There's no optional items. Your Guardian's Ward is a dummy ward, and your Strike token for if you need it. Really, guys, pretty darn simple. 3 Whirling Wands to do a ton of damage and attacking ridiculously fast. Your earlier transition Windcarver Blade and the Assassin's Ward and the Stab Link, so that you are absolutely uncatchable. So here in the early game, guys, you have to start off with your E ability, your controlled aggression. What happens is you toggle Wukong between his offensive stance and his evasive stance. When you are in the offensive stance, it starts off with granting 25% of all spotted minions across the map, but that even including what your teammates can see. 25% of those minions will have a little mark on them that you can see here, a little kind of glowing red orb energy thing that's kind of consuming them. You can see it right there. Now, if you are in the offensive stance and you last hit those minions, you gain 40 to 100 extra CXP, depending on what level this ability is at. Or in the evasive stance, grants you 40 to 100 additional health. To be honest with you, that health, I haven't really seen it come into use. It's simply there aren't enough marked targets that grant enough health back. I haven't found it to be useful. Maybe here in this early game would be the most useful, but honestly, I haven't seen it be that useful. Here, when you are in the off lane, which I think is Wukong's probably his best place to be. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. So here we start off in the one side camp, that one white side camp, simply because I want that CXP in order to make sure that when I back on the first time, that I'm able to get my second healer token. Without that extra CXP, it's a little bit harder to do. I have to be a little more aggressive. Now, controlled aggression, I generally just keep it here in the offensive, just for the few basic attacks. Maybe the evasive stance where you get health back. Maybe right now, when you are defending this tower, is pretty much the only time it honestly comes into play, just to be honest with you. But otherwise, I don't think it's overly helpful. So the next ability that you pretty much have to get is Cloudwalker, and you've seen that showcased here twice as I go to steal that green or the gold buff and to escape right there. Now that our tower is down super early here at the 4-minute mark, I'm like, that is a-okay. Freeze your lane at your tier 2 tower. You see, I'm not attacking anything. I am just letting my minions kill these guys, last hitting, freezing this lane, just keeping it chill. What this is going to do is keep the minions away from the enemy yin and phase so that they are starved from CXP and so that I can get that all myself. Now, Cloudwalker is the ability basically I have to get here because to steal that gold buff, you need Cloudwalker. In the offensive stance, when you double jump, that happens just there that you saw. What happens is after the second jump, you come slamming down in a 300 unit radius, dealing ability damage, applying a movement speed slow. The damage is 60 to 180, and the slow is 200 to 350 max movement speed slow. Doesn't cost any mana. The power scaling is 0.4 with a cooldown of 14 to 8 in the late game. So upgrading it does increase the slow, the damage, and that cooldown, and reduces that cooldown quite significantly. It is definitely the ability I upgrade the second most, next to his controlled aggression. Now, in the evasive stance, you've seen it where I can walk on air, on clouds in the air, away from this yin and phase combo, or I can use it to steal that gold buff. Very important ability. It's freaking awesome. Absolutely awesome. You have to pay attention to what stance you're in, because it is so important. You have to. You need to always know what that control aggression is on. And if it's in the offensive stance, where your staff is glowing red, it's kind of on fire, or if it's in the evasive stance, where there's kind of wind. There's wind going up and down, and it's white in appearance. So don't hesitate to grab these white camps here, because that is a great source of CXP for you and hero levels, of course. That really works quite well. Now, Cloudwalker in the offensive stance can be used for a little bit of burst. In this deck here, we have a lot of power and a lot of attack speed, so that power is really going to offload a lot of that damage onto those abilities. So when you go basic attack into a double jump, into the boom, into another basic attack, it's gonna do a lot of burst damage, especially with the next ability that we have to get here, and that is called Staff of Legend. In the offensive stance, you thrust forward, enlarging your staff just like that to hit targets away and dealing a pretty good amount of damage, 75 to 225 with power scaling of 0.75. It's fairly significant for sure, and in this kind of the whole burst combo, basic attack into a double jumped Cloudwalker offensive stance, whatever you want to call it, into another basic attack into Staff of Legend, that can be a lot of damage, especially in this deck with a lot of power on it. The cooldown's 12 seconds, and in the evasive stance, you use it to push off from the ground, or from the air actually, to leap into the air quite high. You can use this to evade skill shots, Or when you are done in your evasive Cloud Walker, walking on air, and you're falling to the ground, right before you hit the ground, if you use Cloud Walker, it actually propels you forward. I think it has something to do with the angle that Wukong is coming down at, and for some reason, when he's just walking, he'll go kind of straight up and forward a little bit, but if he's falling in the air, he's kind of angled forward, I guess, so that he kind of gets propelled forward. You'll see that a lot here when I'm trying to escape, and I do escape quite a bit here. Just his elusive nature, you can really use it to evasive Cloud Walk forward, and just as you're hitting the ground, propel forward a ton. And it really catches people off guard because they're like, holy smokes, this Wukong just completely disappeared. And just, yeah, so very elusive. Use that Staff of Legend very smartly. The next ability here that you see, actually right here, you see all of my clones. And this ability here is called 84,000 pairs, and something that we're going to rely on very nicely. What happens is, upon connecting with the basic attack, Wukong passively creates an immobile clone, which attacks all targets within melee range. Clones deal a percentage of Wukong's basic attack damage per attack and will disappear after 5 seconds or 3 attacks. Now, the damage percent is 20% at level 1, all the way up to 40% at level 3. There you can see that my perfectly timed Staff of Legend to propel myself forward and get away from that gank, wasting these guys' times. And that is the benefit of Wukong being the split pusher, wasting people's times, just farming, pushing lanes, dragging people away. There is a lot of value to Wukong being a strong split pusher. Now, about his clones, there's a lot of confusion about them. They will attack 3 times, or 3 times within 5 seconds, and they scale from your power, penetration, attack speed, and crit. They just deal a flat amount of your damage. Now, what happens, though, is it's interesting. If you are running crit, and you hit a target, and that attack does not crit, your clone, that clone that you generate from that non-crit attack, will do 20, 30, 40% of that attack that you didn't crit. So, if you crit, the clone that you spawned from the attack that you crit will do more damage than the clone that spawned from an attack that you didn't crit. Does that make sense? So if I hit a target for 100 and I didn't crit, then the clone will deal 40 damage per hit 3 times. But if the next attack I do deals, it crits for 300 damage, then the next clone will do 120 damage 3 times over 5 seconds. Does that make sense? So that's why in my other crit deck for him, I did 100% crit so that all of my clones would always be dealing full crit damage to their opponents. Now here on power, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to deal a ton of damage all the time. The clones will be dealing damage a whole bunch of time, and they'll be attacking fast. Now you can see here, if you just hold down your basic attack, your clones and you will be attacking at the same time, because you hit, they spawn, and then the next attack you hit, because they have the same attack speed, they will hit. So it's really interesting that if you attack more quickly, that means that your clones have a higher chance of attacking the target that you are attacking. An interesting thing you have to consider when you're talking about applied damage on a target. If you're attacking very slowly, you have much less of a chance to actually apply damage onto a target. As you can see here, my elusive nature is very easy for us here. For me and Moricel here, one of my awesome moderators, to just be very elusive there, almost taking out that Wukong. Now, when we talk about cards here, obviously start with your health potion healer token. Get another healer token for that sustain. Wukong is very, very squishy. You have to pick your battles very carefully. Then you go into your ward. You absolutely need the ward for sure, 100%. And then go into your 2 wind cover blades, like we said earlier. At this point, we're dealing a pretty good damage, and those clones will absolutely help me in absolutely obliterating structures. I'm showing all of this early game here because the early game's really hard for Wukong, and you just got to be really careful about what you do here. I'm being pretty right in this yin and faces face, because look, I can very easily just get out of there. So again, really nice there. Wukong is a very interesting pick. He is a carry that can deal a ton of damage in the right situation, but also has very elusive and deals a ton of applied damage onto structures. He can really melt structures very, very easily. So you pick Wukong, in my opinion, because you have a very strong foursome. You have a very strong mid laner, carry, support, and jungler that is one self-contained unit and doesn't necessarily rely on the off laner. They're just a very strong foursome that can just do their thing, enabling Wukong to farm up, split push, get siege objectives, get map objectives, and just kind of do his thing. He can draw people away from the strong foursome, giving your foursome an advantage in any engagements that they go on. You can get siege objectives and pull people away, win those duels because you're just a beast and you're a carry that's farming. Works very well. Wukong is a very specific pick that works great in a specific scenario, in a specific team comp. And I think that's what people need to understand, why he is valuable in certain scenarios. Now I just want to showcase to you, this is in double time, but watch how fast we can traverse the map. Cloudwalker into a perfectly timed Staff of Legends with our stab link that we've transitioned into now, making sure you get that Assassin's Ward with the Drain, just the 2-point lifesteal in there so that you can regenerate that health that you use on the stab link. Watch as the burst here is actually pretty good on that Yin. She has to be careful there. I didn't use the Staff Legend, but then watch here, or the Cloudwalker. Watch as I just get away. Completely safe there. Get away with that stab link, and I am a-okay. Just go back to farming. I drew 3 people away to deal with me so that my strong foursome could get Raptors. Exactly what I want to do here as Wukong. Once more, I'm putting down pressure here in this off lane, and I'm getting kind of manhandled here by this Grux. 3 people rotate over to deal with me. My friendly team can't really do anything, but my stab link secures my release again. So again, the constant pressure, constant farm. 28 here as I'm even with our Revenant here and Morcel, who's just a beast here and doing really well. So I've caught up to the enemy carry as an offlaner, and I've been constant pressure has given us a little bit of a siege advantage. That's why I'm pushing down this off lane, just because they haven't gotten these other towers here, unfortunately. Just another example of Wukong's elusive nature, even messing up what stance I'm in. Still able to get away there. The Grux and 3 other people wanting to really come and deal with me. And here's why the strong foursome can come into play a lot. With people overextending, trying to get you from being so damn annoying, you can get picks like that and other important siege objectives. Now that we have our Thunder Cleaver, we just absolutely demolish these lane waves. One thing you have to know, though, is that Wukong's clones do not apply any on-hit effects. It doesn't apply Thunder Cleaver. It doesn't apply Shred. Unfortunately, nothing like that. Apparently, something like Trader's Touch. No, not Trader's Touch. Tainted Magic, I think. There's a few that have a really weird effect where it barely works, like barely works. So unfortunately, there's no on-hit effects that really work. Watch as I absolutely demolish that tower. Look at that. I had a couple seconds, and it's down to a fifth, a quarter health. That is the power here of Wukong. As you know what, we're probably going to get rid of this Thunder Cleaver fairly soon, as I'm 53 CP, and our wave clear, once we just attack a few times with those clones, can absolutely just destroy these lane waves. Now the enemy has Orb Prime again. Yes, we did successfully defend, but I do something that maybe they don't anticipate. I split push. Now, what this is going to do is, yes, I'm at 60 CP build. I can absolutely just destroy these towers. Look at that. Those are each of my own hits. Look at these minion waves just get absolutely obliterated. And this is without even a Thunder Cleaver. I'm like, you know what? You just walked into 5 of my clones, buddy. Yeah, you have Orb Prime, but nope, doesn't even matter. I don't care. I go straight for the inhibitor. I'm taking a bit of damage, but look at this. I just absolutely obliterate him as the clones are too much. This Aurora, unfortunately, I meant to use my Staff of Legends so I could go up over her, but unfortunately she gets me. I get an inhibitor while they have Orb Prime. I kill the enemy Wukong, forcing the Aurora to come deal with me. Look at that. What is that? That is one way to deal with Orb Prime, is somebody like Wukong use his strengths in a different way. Unfortunately, my strong foursome here isn't enough. They get out of position and they get picked off, and that's kind of the end of that. So the enemy gets two inhibitors, but I delete the phase because that is what you have to do as Wukong. When you participate in team fights, you're an assassin at this point. As a carry, your main purpose here is to deal damage, and that damage has to be applied on high priority targets in order to get value. Unfortunately, the Yin uses a fantastic ultimate right at the exact appropriate time. I don't use my offensive Cloudwalker to go up and above her whip hits and come down on her and try to finish her off there. You're an assassin. You're playing Wukong as a high DPS assassin that has to engage after the primary initiation, and that's that. Targeting high priority targets like an assassin, and that's just how you gotta be. Unfortunately, we do end up losing this one, as I'm trying to do I'm trying to maybe pull them away, see if they will fall for the bait of me split pushing to take them away, but no, they didn't. Again, the foursome couldn't, they got picked off and unfortunately couldn't handle it. So there you guys go. That is my second off meta deck here for Wukong, as this doesn't deal as much DPS as the other one for team fights, which is something you have to consider. You aren't as effective in team fights with this deck. But that damage against towers will be a fair amount more. With a crit deck, it's still monstrous. It's still ridiculous. But this, instead of killing a tower in 8 seconds, this does it in like 4. So he's still Wukong. No matter which way you slice it, will destroy a tower, an inhibitor in no time flat. This one just does it ridiculously fast. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this deck, as it started off as a joke and then I was like, wow, this is a crazy split push. Please like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, guys, and of course subscribe. If you guys like this content, especially if you found it useful, I would absolutely love to be able to do it for you in the future. Until next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.